Well, hello and welcome back to Full Circle Angling. Today we're shore fishing, heavy ground fishing out on the rocks, Northumberland. Conditions aren't exactly ideal, are they?
No, it's we've come here. The seas are a little bit. They've come away a little bit more than what was forecast. It's quite rough actually in places. We found a little bit of a sheltered bay, so we're going to give it a go. There's quite a bit of colour in the water as well, so we weren't expecting that either. But it's better than sitting in the house watching the TV. We've got a nice bucket of fresh crab there, so we've got the best chance. So obviously many thanks to Lenny in South Shields for sorting us out the crab. Like top shop, top man. Thanks very much, Lenny. Yeah, so just going to give it a go and see what happens.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what sort of setup are you using today?
So today obviously I've gone heavy ground rod, so I've got my Century Tornado, and I've paired that up with me Penn Spin Fisher. I think I've got about 80-pound braid straight through on that. Yeah, and I'm going to use my dongle rig that I really like using. I've caught quite a bit of success using this rig. I think it's perfect for this kind of ground fishing. I'll go through that in a little bit more detail a bit later on, show you how it's set up, etc. Yeah, so just going to punch a bit lump of crab out, and hopefully there's something out there that'll jump on the end of it and we'll get a fish.
Great.
Yep.
Fingers crossed. Well, let's hope we can come back to you with a fish.
Yep, superb.
First chuck, Gary's just getting a bite straight away. Anything there?
Very small, whatever it is.
It's a fish though, it's definitely some action, which is good. So you might notice today that I'm into the 21st century due to the fact that I'm using a fixed spool with braid. I do occasionally use it. The reason I've using it today is because I need maximum distance to get over the kelp and I need a quicker retrieve. That's a Shimano Aero Technium. Absolutely superb reel. The line lay on it's incredible. And what I do for casting, you can buy all sorts of things. That's just a leather thimble, and that was actually shown to me by Gary Pye when I was down in his shop a couple of years ago now. In fact, it's probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Dead simple. Pick them up for peanuts off eBay. Stick your finger. Really, really good. So if you're using fixed spool and braid and you're not sure, I'd definitely recommend giving those a crack. Right, so let's get this out there, see what we can do. It's looking pretty good, it's well beyond that kelp. So the rod I'm using is the usual trusty Ziplex HST Evo, which is a little bit of a custom rod, and that it's 1310, and the tip's actually a bit stiffer than the standard Evo tip. Lee made half a dozen of these before Ziplex shut up shop, and I was lucky enough to be able to get one. Reel, as I say, Shimano Aero Technium. Not a cheap reel, but for me, certainly in terms of braid and line lay, one of the best you can get, because every time that bail arm goes up and down, there's 100 oscillations of line. So it's 50 up and 50 down, and I just don't think you're going to get much better than that. You do pay for these reels, of course. They're not cheap, but they are very, very good. One thing I would say as well, the standard handle you get with them, because they're a carp fishing reel essentially, is like the flat handle, and I don't think they're very good. So you can get yourself on eBay and buy the upgraded handle, which has got the same handle as the Bullseye, and you can get a much better grip. It's a solid metal handle as well, so it's really good. Just had a very, very positive bite there. rod properly slammed over. Of course, when you're using braid, you're fishing in shallow water, the bites are always going to be very, very savage. And, you feel a bit of movement. It's a proper decent bite. You really generally, when you get a codling that's sort of anything over about 2.5 pound, it'll pick it up and start moving with it, and you kind of know it's on. Of course, the other thing with braid is you kind of just want to wind into your bite rather than really striking it, because there's absolutely no stretch. You will have a tendency to pull the hook, especially if it's not deep hooked. Nah, if there's a fish on there, 100% know about it. If you can see in the camera now, the tide's dropped. We've probably got about another half hour, and as is often the case with this heavy ground fishing, you've got a lot of kelp out in front of you for the first 20-30 yards. It's not too bad today. We're wanting to fish further over to the right between what's known as Seal Island and Snab Point. It's quite a favourite mark of mine, but there's just a bit more sea running than what we'd anticipated. So we're fishing in this area here, which is a bit calmer, but to be honest, if we don't pull anything out, I think we might go over there and have a chuck to the right hand side of Seal Island, where it is a little bit deeper, because even on the biggest tides it always holds the water. You don't get the kelp going out for 20-30 yards in front of you.
Yeah. So just a quick talk through what rig I'm using today. Quite simple pulley rig. All I've got on a rotten bottom at the end. I'll come a bit closer to show you. At the bottom at the end, I've just got that's my weak link. I think that's 25 pound onto a grip wire, onto a small imp, which is the clip down, and then running up, I've basically just got a pulley bead, just like this here. So you can see that there's in between two beads, and then on the hook end, and what I've been using a lot is I've been using the dongle rig, and this is, I think I've mentioned it in a previous video. That's my take on a dongle rig. So basically all I've got is a small loop on the end. I use a perfection loop. You can use any loop really. The only reason I use a perfection loop is the tag end comes at a 90-degree angle. If you leave that long, it acts as a bit of a bait stop. And then just set that loop up the mono wherever you want, depending on how big of a bait you're going to put on. Use a knotless knot. Hook wise, that's a 4/0 chinu owner hook, I believe. Yep. And then basically that's it. So to bait up, I've got some fresh crab. You need a baiting needle to use this. So you can get baiting needles from any tackle shop, freshwater tackle shop, because obviously the carp anglers use them. So what I've done is I peeled the crab and then wrapped the crab up, and then I pushed it through onto the baiting needle. So there's the crab on the baiting needle. And if you look on the end of the baiting needle, you've got like this little hook. So you open the hook, and it like leaves a little kind of hook effect there. You get the end of your hook like that, or where the loop is. You put the loop inside the bait, inside the little hook on the end, close the gate, so to speak, so you've got it nice and tight like that. Now you need to keep it tight, so you need to pull it so you make the loop, you know, like go narrow, so to speak, like that. So I'll just put it on the ground like that, if I can still show you. So you've got it like that, and all you do is then slide that straight through on. Make sure you push it past the loop, because the loop's the important bit. All you do is you just get the hook, you put it through like this, you hook, you've got that effect there. And then when you clip it down into the imp, it's the loop that clips into the imp. As you clip that into the imp like so, and then you're left with that. And that's basically how that rig works. It's very effective. With the hook being on the top as well, the last thing to go in that fish's mouth is the hook, so you always get a good clean hook up. You either get them in the scissors or the bottom lip. Very, very rarely will you get a deep hooked fish. So if you do catch and release or an undersized fish, you can guarantee the fish will go back, if you want the fish to go back. That's it.
For me, this heavy ground fishing, plain sinkers, I do find a lot easier to wind through the kelp and less likely to snag. Well, unfortunately that bite hasn't turned into anything. but there's definitely activity out there. And the activity for me today has certainly taken its toll. I've not felt good all week, but got to Saturday and I just thought there's no way I'm sitting in the house doing nothing. So, unfortunately for once this time, it's not actually alcohol induced, which is a rarity. Shifted over to the other side of Seal Island, which is this rock here. And I'm just going to chuck into this area because I do know from fishing here it is deeper. I've had to switch to my old trusty bullseye fixed spool, which is a nice reel. The line lays nowhere near as good as what it is on an Aero Technium, but it's got one thing it has not got is enough braid on it. Straight onto me back in there, which is far from ideal, so I'm gonna have to be a bit careful. It's not good, but it's got a lower 3 to 3.5 to 1 gear ratio, so you do have to crank in quickly. But what it means is that when you're getting a fish with braid, it doesn't just pull the tip of your rod over. It's got a lot more torque, which I quite like. So round 2, let's see what we can do. Gary's just getting set up to my left here. Just going to plop into this hole.
Just hard. Canny little knock there.
Well, it's turning out to be a bit of a challenging session, this. As I've said, conditions aren't great. Losing braid, losing rigs. It is part of heavy ground fishing, of course, but still a little bit of a sickener, especially when you're not exactly feeling top of the world like I am now. But anyway, nice to be out. Gary's just had a couple of knocks there, so there seems to be something out there. The tide should be flooding soon, so hopefully that brings with it a little bit of action. Oh, just had a cracking bite there. Absolutely cracking bite. Right, just had a really good couple of knocks there. Just a couple of canny bites, really hard pull downs, and then pick your rod up, and as usual, nout. Oh, that was better. Right, someone's just had a proper go there. If that bites again, I'm gonna strike it. I definitely felt like a cod nod, that. It's got that feeling of as it's taking the bait and it's just sat in the kelp and it moves the odd time, shakes its head. There's just not quite enough for us to have the confidence to pull it yet, but if it bites again, I'm going to reel into it. Come on, come on. I'm getting very impatient today. Right, I'll leave that for a second. Nothing's happened since those couple of bites. I'm hoping I've got a fish lying on, but I think the reality is probably nothing there, but we'll find out. Oh, it's just pulled straight to a snag. Something's popped off. Feels like the sinker. Well, it all happened. It was over with as quick as it happened. Gary's just struck into a fish there, got it moving. It looked like a good fish based on the bend he's rod, and unfortunately it came off. Meanwhile, I've managed to slice my lip open on a packet of paracetamol. so that's good. Right, well, bait's been out there for quite a while now. I haven't had any interest on it. Oh, we'll see it now. Some weight on this. That's just basically the story of this day. There was something on that there. Might have been a crab or a lobster. There's a bit of weight on that. There's a bit of weight on that, and then it just came off. Frustrating day this. Probably was a crab or a lobster because I didn't see any bites, but annoying, very annoying. Gary is into a fish. Doesn't look a bad one either. Doesn't look a bad fish. Looks like Gary's got himself a decent fish here. Oh, is it fast? It's coming, go on. Yep, here it comes. Rat. I'm just trying my best not to fall into this murky water. Oh, it's a nice cod. That's it. Yeah, it's a decent one, that. Nice fish. Get in. Lovely marked fish, that. It's got to be, what, 3-ish?
Yeah.
And is it hooked just on the...
And there, when I was telling everybody, just when I made the video.
Yeah, yeah.
There's the dongle.
Yeah, just on the mouth.
Straight there, straight on the bottom lip, every time.
Perfect.
That's the advantage, right there, the dongle rig.
Superb. Nice fish.
Oh, look at that,
Straight out.
Almost going red, so you can see he's moved into the kelp. That's a nice fish, yeah.
Smashing. That was on a straight crab bait.
That was straight crab bait, yeah.
Give you a good bite?
Give us quite a decent bite. It wasn't a massive bite, but it was, you know, it certainly was a little, it was certainly a little bit different from what looks to be like getting pestered with crabs and lobsters, I guess.
Brilliant.
So, it's a nice fish, nice red fish, but this one, I'm going to put this one back.
Yeah,
so
just hooked in the mouth.
Just hooked in the mouth, so we'll get him back. And we'll just stick him in there.
Yep, and he's away. Nice one. Well done.
Yep, pleased with that. Yeah.
Right, well, because I haven't used my bullseye in that long, realised I don't have anywhere near enough braid on it, so I was down to the back, and then because this venue's so flat, getting pushed back quite quickly, so I would have ended up just being on 20-pound mono backing, which is obviously no good. So I'm now on to reel number 3 of the day, which is my good old Saltus 35H. On to multiplier mono now, after having 2 fixed spools because of either losing too much braid or not having enough braid on in the first place, which is quite ridiculous, but there you go. Right, let's just see what sort of damage that can do. Hey, I tell you what, I thought that was a lot bigger than what it is. Another little codling. See if I can get him unhooked. There we go.
There we are. That come out quite quick, that bit.
It did, yeah. Wasn't too bad, was it? So, nice little ginger kelpie. Last cast of the day. There he is, big cavernous mouth, little teeth in there, just smashing through crabs.
Yep,
let's get him back.
Well done.
Well, that's the end of the session. It hasn't been the easiest. It's been pretty tricky on a few fronts, really, hasn't it?
It has. Conditions haven't been ideal, really, on this mark. When we got here, it was, I think, for summer cod fishing like this, it needs to be a lot flatter and calmer. And there was a lot of colour in the water as well,
Yeah.
and it's really... But we managed to winkle that one out, so I'm pleased with that.
Yeah,
and we did have a
nice
few
fish.
rattles, and you lost, which I think would have been a half-decent fish, the
Yeah.
way it had moved your tripod and it
Yeah.
nearly pulled the rod out.
It did literally nearly pull the rod.
It's a shame with that one, but hey, that's
great
fishing,
snap.
in it.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, you came good with the goods, got a lovely fish out there.
Absolutely, yes, I'm pleased with that.
That was good. So, as always, thanks for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. It is appreciated. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.